up, everybody? I'm here, Venerable Rose Bowl. There she is. Beginning of the Gold Cup. Going to pick up my credential. I came here solo. It's very festive. It's a glorious day here. Parking at the Rose Bowl is the worst thing you could possibly ever imagine. Time consuming. You get out of your car, feels like you just came off an 8-hour road trip. But once you're parked, it's pretty cool. So you can imagine a lot of Mexico fans. Haven't seen any Cuba fans. Canada, Martinique are playing. I'll catch the second half of that. Good times. Happy Gold Cup.
The Rose Bowl. You know, every time I'm there, I just do my Keith Jackson voice. You can't help yourself. The Rose Bowl, nestled underneath the majestic San Gabriel Mountains. And today, the granddaddy of them all, the Badgers of Wisconsin from the Big Ten. So, as I said there, it's always getting to the Rose Bowl, the last 20 minutes parking and doing all that is impossible. It's one of the worst experiences in any sporting venue. But once you're there, it is something else, man. You're seated and you see those mountains and night falls and it's this crispness and this, it's unbelievable. If you haven't experienced it, you should do it. But get ready to be in parking. Even better yet, get there very early and tailgate like a mofo, if you know what I mean. Jelly bean. Welcome into full time. Great time of year. A lot to discuss. I was at the Rose Bowl. The Rose Bowl. Oh, Nelly. Here come the Trojans. I was at the Rose Bowl, the beginning of the Gold Cup, the regional tournament here in the North America, Central America, and the Caribbean. I saw Canada play. Who are they playing? Jeez, I can't remember. Martinique. And then it was Mexico and Cuba. And before I get in here, I want to say something about Cuba. You know, my family were exiles from Cuba and made many sacrifices to come here. The same regime is holding place there, and it's just destroyed the place. You know, Cuba used to be the preeminent force in tobacco, cigars, in rum, best in the world, music, best in the region. And then one day, they weren't, not even close to that. Really, the last thing was sport, because that was Fidel Castro's baby. He pushed it. I believe it was the Barcelona Olympics. They finished fifth, Cuba as a country, fifth in the medal count. I can't do anything. The soccer, the baseball, the pipeline, it's all gone. It's all gone. It's a country for old men, and they've destroyed it. And I hope one day in my lifetime I'll be able to see it grow again and rebuild, because it's a mighty island. It has so much to give. And right now there's nothing. There's no incentive to be successful for you there. So a little political conversation. But I will get back to the Gold Cup. All eyes certainly in the United States, on the United States, to see if they can get out of this malaise, which seems like it's going to be hanging around a bit, as I touched on last week. Mexico come into this tournament shorthanded without some of the big-name stars, but they don't seem affected by it. They thrashed Cuba 7-0. They beat two good South American teams in their build-up to this competition. And I think we look possibly to a collision course between those two. I think that's going to be your final. I don't think there's enough complications for keeping the U.S. out there. By the way, a Mexico-U.S. final, I think people feel like it's that way all the time. Well, it hasn't been the final the last 3 editions, and in the 14 previous editions, it's only happened 5 times. So it is a rarity when you think about it. I called the famous final in 2007 in Chicago, one of the most famous calls in American soccer. So there you have it. I think Mexico, USA, I think any team to keep an eye on is Jamaica. Leon Bailey is the one exciting development in CONCACAF of very few right now, to be perfectly honest. So hopefully that develops very well. Okay, let's go from there to Copa America, which began and is dynamic. Much like Mexico, United States are viewed as the two powers in CONCACAF. In CONMEBOL, it's been Brazil, Argentina. I don't think it's that anymore. I really don't. I think it's Uruguay and Colombia. And you look at the young players they're developing and the old players they have, I think that's not going to change for a bit. Argentina in their opener were thumped mightily by the Colombians. Uruguay cruising in their opener against Ecuador. The game was over 20, 30 minutes in. I think Uruguay is the best team in South America. I think Uruguay is the best team in all the Americas. There's so many good players that don't even make their squad. So I think people think we get a Brazil-Argentina final. I think you start preparing for a Colombia Well, I think the way the tournaments, you might get Colombia, Uruguay in one semifinal and Brazil, Argentina, which would be remarkable. And because Brazil's hosting, I think that'll help them get to a final. But I talk a little bit about Argentina, and Lionel Messi's there. They weren't coming close to score. It's scratching my head at the combination play between these other great star players and how it doesn't work with Messi. Kun Agüero, they were okay together, but they generally never are, and at times you don't play them together. Paulo Dybala and Lionel Messi, I don't think, can share the field. It's just a weird combination. It just doesn't work. They kind of play a similar position as well. But when you have players that good, you would imagine they maybe play together. But it hasn't been the case. I just don't know. I mean, Di Maria works well with Messi on the international stage. I know people think I'm Messi bashing. It just doesn't work. It's not working. Argentina just outclassed, chemistry issues. I will say there are a lot of Argentine football was the first thing I broadcast, so I knew everybody, every club, every team, every manager. To me, it was a passion. I was just mesmerized by the history of the sport there, and I love everything. The music, its connection with the fans. But there were players I never heard of. I did, but barely. I'm like, man, you used to know everybody and every backup for Argentina. And that's not Messi's fault, obviously. That is something happening in Argentina. I know there's talent there. I know. And I know there's coaching there. Argentine coaches are all over the world being successful at this. All over the world. Best managers along with Italians. We'll get to an Italian manager here shortly. So I'll stick with Uruguay, Brazil. But Uruguay, man, really impressed here. Uruguayo. All right, we'll talk about some club activity. You know, there's a huge trade here in the NBA. Anthony Davis being traded from the Pelicans to the Lakers to combine with LeBron James. LeBron James. And now the NBA and world football, the European circuit certainly competing with this. I think what Real Madrid does this summer is going to be fascinating. Maybe Manchester United. Chelsea have been a very active team, which is interesting because they have the player ban. So they did sign Christian Pulisic prior to it. They did part ways with Eden Hazard. And now Maurizio Sarri has left. I'd be really interested to see what they could do, but the transfer ban obviously is going to complicate that. But stranger things have happened. Maybe they can get out of that situation. Christian Pulisic, the United States, it'll be wonderful to see him. But who's the big question in the summer now for Chelsea? Who's going to be the manager? Frank Lampard seems to be the obvious choice. Although I think Chelsea will do their due diligence. You know why Chelsea will do their due diligence? Because they're a great club. I always hear about Chelsea. They are described as underachieving. They have a locker room that's difficult. Oh, an owner that is uncompromising. And they sign me up for whatever Chelsea's doing. Sign me up. They win. They supposedly had a bad season, and they win the Europa League, and they win a spot in the Champions League in a very tough thing to do in the English Premier League. Sign me up. I think it's a fascinating club, and I'll be curious to see what they do moving forward. Women's World Cup, again, I'd like to talk about it more, but I don't think we can really pump it up until we get to the knockouts. It's just the haves and the have-nots. There'll be some nice stories here. No big upsets yet. I'm recording this, and something might happen the day after. But I will say that the United States, who I said earlier weren't going to win the World Cup, are clearly the best team. So at the point being of this recording, I am dead wrong. And I'm happy to be wrong in this case. But the U.S. just have linked together. They are so precise. I don't think I've seen a side, men or women, cross the ball better than the U.S. Every time they cross a ball into the area, it's a scoring threat. It finds a target. But we'll see. It's a long tournament. I will say I don't think the U.S. are as deep as everyone says. Everyone says the depth is going to do it. They're good, but it's not mind-blowing where there's a drop-off. So you can rely on that, but I wouldn't rely on it too much. I don't think it's as strong. That's the one thing I've noticed. But, the talent's there, and they'll do it. All right, full-time with Max Bretos. Please subscribe to my YouTube page. I love doing this. I'll do this even with or without your help. But spread the word. And happy Father's Day, belated everyone. I got this for Father's Day. And pretty cool. I'm sweating a little bit in my studio, but I think I look really cool. I look like a man in his 40s trying to be a man in his 30s, but I'm okay with that. See you later.